Hello, everybody, and welcome to Church at Home with Rachel for Feel Good Friday, the 9th of June. It is another really warm day here in Wainwright, and as I record this, and we are on a countdown to the end of June when we will get our air conditioning. So, come July, these will probably be filmed inside, but right now, catching a breeze is what we're at. Where we're at. So, Feel Good Friday. So today, I want to talk about something that, if you know me at all, you might think is a little bit of an unusual thing for me to think is a feel good thing. I was just catching up on Beau. I was away last week, and so I'm like 30 videos behind on Beau, and I'm trying to get caught up. It's got to admit, watching Beau is not conducive to doing things like writing sermons and preparing church bulletins because he's so interesting. I tend to drift over to him instead of paying attention to this computer, where I'm working away at the stuff I need to do for my church world. But anyways, he's talking about a, a school board or a county in Utah. I want to call it Jeffreys County. I'm not sure. I'm probably wrong about that. But anyway, where they've actually banned the Bible, the King James version of the Bible, from their libraries because of the violence and the and the language, etc., used in it. Um, and Bo, of course, is talking about the reason that the ways in which we go about doing this, of imposing our opinions and things, and he disagrees obviously with banning books because, and he's right, parents should be aware of what their children are reading, and they should make a decision on whether or not a book that happens to be in the library is read by that child, not simply remove the book from the library. But it seems to me the reason it feels good is I find this to be like a feel good or a funny Friday thing for me, is that I've talked about the pendulum swinging before with people, and this idea that the goes around comes around stuff and everything, and that we have this knee jerk reaction to things. If we don't like something, we don't sit back and say, oh, like, why don't I like it? What makes me feel uncomfortable about it? Is it the whole thing? Is it a part of it? Is it is it something that just I feel uncomfortable with, or is it something that everybody feels uncomfortable with? We don't analyze. We don't actually use critical thinking to deal with it. We just make this decision and go gung ho and be damned the consequences. Well, I kind of wondered when this might happen. We can ban Catcher in the Rye and Huckleberry Finn, and we can ban books written by, black authors, and we can ban books written by, queer authors or about queer people and trans and things like that. But the fact is, if you want to read about sex, read the Song of Solomon. It's beautiful. It's erotic. I often actually encourage a bride and groom to have that as a reading at their wedding. I have yet to have a bride and a bride or groom and a groom. Someday maybe I will, and I'll be pleased if they are indeed in love and feel that they can commit themselves to marriage forever. I am lock, stock, and barrel in favor of marriage between two people who are committed to one another, but I won't say yes to marrying a couple um, unless I believe that they're actually going to try to make it work. Their gender doesn't bother me at all. That's not the point. It's whether or not they're committed to the actual relationship. Because I've seen plenty of heterosexual couples who come to me to get married, and I'm scratching my head thinking, like, why? Tax breaks, maybe? Yeah. Moving? this, there's nothing here that screams that these couples should get married. And I have turned couples down. Um, but Song of Solomon is absolutely beautiful. And war. I mean, I have had better luck helping teenage boys in my church situations actually think about the possibility of reading, like opening the Bible that they get for, their birthday or confirmation or something, because there's war in it. Like there's death and destruction and smiting things and people drowning in the Red Sea when it stops being parted and all this stuff. Like it's exciting, it's adventure. And I have had people who, like, yeah, so there's war and there's all kinds of stuff in there, and it talks about sex. It does. In some places it talks about who can have sex with whom and who can't. And it's not just all about homosexuality. There's a woman who got caught in adultery, and she's dragged out. I'm wondering, I've always wondered this in that particular passage. Did they have the decency to give her time to get dressed? Did they just drag her out by her hair? naked as the day she was born. Like, there's all kinds of stuff in the Bible that I've wondered, when is somebody going to say that is smut? That's the foul language, that is calling on people to hate. And there are aspects of the Bible that indeed do that. Now, the New Testament is a little bit lighter. It's a whole lot more loving than the Old Testament is, but we can get into how the Bible was written and what it was intended for and how it was collated, or collated is not the right word, but how it was brought together as a canon at a later date. But there's all kinds of stuff in the Bible that has kind of made me think, when are they going to come after that? When I have thought that, I haven't been thinking in terms of those people who post 9/11 were standing on top of pulpits and screaming from altars saying that it's the Sharia law, or it's that Middle Eastern stuff, or that other religion that's going to make our religion disappear and ban the Bible from institutions of learning, etc. My question has always been, when are people going to get so frustrated and so ridiculous that they go ahead and they say something that does exactly this? That they're, in their eagerness to be bigots and ban all of these other things, that they create laws that state you can't do this and you can't do this, that they finally discover that a lot of what they do, a lot of what they hold up to be the absolute, this is the pillar of my life, this is the guidebook for who I am. When they ignore the parts of the Bible that they don't like, while slamming other people with the parts of the Bible they do like, when is that going to come back and bite them in the butt? Well, apparently it has in a county in Utah, which I find hilarious, considering Utah, you say Utah, and the first thing I think is Mormons, like people who, it's a form of Christianity that I don't adhere to, but there are people who believe so much in the good news of Jesus Christ that they actually come door to door all over North America, try to convince us that we should follow their Bible. And yet they've banned the Bible from their libraries. I'm not upset about that. And the other part of I'm not upset about that is because you know what happens when books get banned? People read them. There is a book called Mouse. I cannot remember his name. It's a graphic novel about World War II and the Nazis and the concentration camps. And um, the author and the illustrator wrote this book talking about that, and it was criticized a couple years ago. It was absolutely trashed. People shouldn't read this and everything. And guess what happened to his book? Bestseller list. Catcher in the Rye, Huckleberry Finn, both books that when I lived in grade 9, grade 10, 11, that was when they were scheduled to be read in my school. And I remember I was taking grade 11 English and grade 10. I didn't take fun stuff in second semester. I was trying to graduate early or something. I was nuts. Looking back, I should have taken basket weaving. But anyway, I took English, grade 11 English and grade 11 math in grade 10 for whatever reasons. And our teacher, Mrs. Marchese, told us we're going to read these books, Catcher in the Rye and The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, this year, definitely on our curriculum, because the Board of Education for where I lived actually had that summer a plan to have a conversation about banning books. And both of those books were books that were going to be potentially banned. I don't know if they were or not. Um, that was, good 40, not quite 40 years ago, but 35, 36 years ago. However, what it did do is I remember reading those books in class. I know we also did Macbeth and King Lear and other things, and I have a passing familiarity with those. But the books I can remember reading are Catcher in the Rye and Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. And it's not because they were classics and not because they were incredible pieces of literature, which they were. It's because somebody had the audacity to say, you're not going to be allowed to read them. And guess what? As a 15-year-old, that was like, give them to me. That was the challenge of the lifetime. So for all these people who are out there saying, we need to do X, Y, and Z to stop the hideousness of the world and all of this wokeism, the in my opinion, my humble opinion, the Bible, particularly the New Testament, is the most woke piece of literature there is, if it is used appropriately. And to tell people you're not allowed to read it, that's an invitation for the Bible to hit the top of the bestseller chart again. And the fact is that I am actually not upset with the fact that The version that they have banned specifically is the King James version. I find it awful. The translation is not good. It's politically motivated. The context, if you read it, recognizing when it was created, there's a lot of political interplay in there, and I prefer to like the New Revised Standard Version, the New International Version, things like that personally. So if you're going to ban a Bible, the King James is okay by me. but but I just what a great way for me to start my weekend to find out that the Bible in the United States, which at this moment seems to be running around talking about Christian nationalism and pushing forward a Christian agenda, even if that Christian agenda really doesn't actually look anything like true Christianity, and they actually have a ban of the Bible. That whole pendulum swing thing, we push the pendulum hard because we hate trans people, we hate queers, we hate gays, all those things. We don't want them and we don't want their influence. So we're going to push hard over here. And then the pendulum just comes back. And then guess what? That pendulum actually knocks off their pedestal the very people, the very ideas and issues that were set so far against the other things. Eventually, the pendulum will hang out somewhere in the middle. The momentum will slow down. But right now, it kind of looks like the Christian right has just had their arses handed to them by their own bloody mindedness. I don't know, maybe I'm completely wrong, but this has really tickled my fancy. The banning of the Bible. I think I'll ponder this one all weekend long. I hope that you have a great weekend. I hope that you enjoy your family, your friends, whatever it is you're going to do. I'm going to fill up a storage room. Rob's got it all completely finished. And by the way, for those of you, before I take off here, for those of you who have been praying for Rob, we got back his results from his last echocardiogram, and he's doing really, really well. His heart has gone from 15 to 20% function way back in September, and it's up to 45 to 50% function as of this week. And a regular normal person's heart is at 55 to 60%. So he's doing really well. So thank you for your thoughts and prayers, and keep them up because he still needs to heal and his knee is not doing well. He can barely walk. But we had some good news this week. So think about all those things that you want to ban. And if you're having trouble getting your kids to read something, tell them you're considering not letting them read it. I bet you they'll go and read it just to spite you. Have a great day. God bless. See you again Sunday for Gospel on the Go, for the second Sunday after Pentecost, and on Monday for Church at Home with Rachael. Have a great weekend.